that we have been working so hard on. So what is EdLink 360 for anybody that doesn't know? We have a couple of our EdLink core values. So our goal is to revolutionize the way that we use the data to support our students and our families. So we truly believe that data is the most powerful member of any team. Data is for everyone. Data is a critical asset that requires investment and protection, as our data is very sensitive for our students. And then there is a simple and elegant solution to every problem. And so this is what our core values are for EdLink as we began the process of building out this new system. So kind of give you a little bit of the solution here. So EdLink is our department's new education data warehouse and transactional system platform that will revolutionize the way that users access and interact with data. We had currently outdated and failing systems. The data that was collected, it was collected in too many places with no single source of truth. So it may have been captured in 3 different systems and coming in different ways. We had simple reporting, and research was very difficult around those data elements as data was housed in several places. We had challenging questions that were almost nearly impossible to answer. And the school and facility level staff, who have the most opportunities for positive impact on our kids, often have the least amount of meaningful data available for making difficult decisions within school systems. So EdLink's solution is to improve our business process and overall usability. We want to consolidate our data silos into one source of truth, and that is EdLink 360. We want to connect our data and programs to reduce multiple logins. So one login as opposed to several logins, which I think everyone can agree is a great thing. And then we want to build a data warehouse where with meaningful visualizations, as well as comprehensive reporting and program evaluation. So a very unique system that allows us to use different dashboards and things of that nature to really analyze data, whether you want to look at it over a 3-year span or you want to look at specifically pieces of data and kind of analyze it across all of the submission timeframes, as well as looking at historical data. So this is a place that really gives you that opportunity to look at data and make those difficult decisions that you might need to make based on good, accurate data. So EdLink 360, what it is it's a data warehouse that combines early childhood and our K-12 data into one system. The combination of historical and future data allows us, LDOE, and school systems to track students from birth to high school as they complete high school. It also replaces our outdated K-12 data systems that we currently use. We call those our legacy systems, and it gives school systems a new place to submit all state required data. So one place, I guess is the key word there. This is one single platform where all user access data based on your role. So you are given permissions to access systems now in our legacy system. So you have you can either just view data, or you have the ability to go in and modify data or add data. So this platform will give users access based on whatever your role is set up as. And then we have dashboards. They have graphics connected to them, and they're designed to be visually appealing as well as easy to understand. So kind of the way I was iterating a few minutes ago, where you can go in and look at data across different aspects. So if you want to look at just your 12th graders, or if you want to look at 9 through 12 or specific schools, you would be able to do that here using those dashboards with those graphics to give you that visual, appealing understanding. So this is our project timeline. In 2018, we started the discussion for EdLink 360. It was our project, it was our build and pilot phase through 2020. So we just completed our pilot in the spring of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. Starting the 2021 school year, we started collecting data in a parallel collection. So we started collecting data in our current legacy systems, as well as this new EdLink 360 data warehouse. So school systems have been submitting not only to legacy, but also to this new system. And then we will go live with this new system in August of 2021, which is right around the corner. It seems to be coming up very, very quickly. So this is where our project timeline kind of has been laid out for this EdLink process. And so we're getting ready to go live. So specifically talking about the homeless piece of this. So right now, reporting homeless student service data is currently collected into HTS. A process will need to be developed with your local system to collect homeless service data. So currently this data is entered manually into the online SIS HTS section. So you are, your SIS coordinators are flagging your homeless students. So those are your school age students are being pulled in through the SIS data. And then you are going into the HTS system and manually adding in anyone that is underage and flagging all the services for anyone across the board, whether school age or underage, with what services they are receiving on a monthly basis. EdLink will not have an online data entry process. So right now you're going into HTS to manually flag which months and what services are being provided to those students. EdLink will not have that functionality. Everything will have to come in through a extract, so a homeless extract. So we're asking you to reach out to your SIS coordinator and develop that process with them on how to enter that information into your local system, and that be the source of truth. The homeless service data should be entered within the local system, similar to what you do now, again, with the homeless tracking system, and it will show specific services provided at least once during a specific month. To kind of explain that, for a given student, there would only be a maximum of 21 records, meaning there are 21 services that can be provided for a student. So one for each homeless service. And I'll define that a little deeper as we get further along. So right now, the homeless service data should be recorded and submitted by the end of each month in the homeless service TSV extract. So this is the specific extract that was developed and designed to collect the homeless data from your local system and provide it to our EdLink 360 data warehouse. So we have essentially three types of extracts. We have our staff data, we have our student data, and we have what's defined as our other pieces of data. So the homeless extract actually sits within our student data collection. So right now, again, you're submitting to HTS, all of those underage students, as well as those identified as homeless and providing those services. That information is now going to be collected on that homeless service extract. So that's the homeless service TSV file. So I provided for you here kind of what the name of it is. And the extract files will include records that identify the homeless service received by a homeless student at least once during the school year. And we have a sample, and which I'll show you kind of further down with an example of what this will look like for you, trying to kind of give you a better understanding of how this is going to be pulled out of your local system and then provided to EdLink. So this is an example of a vendor entry page. So all of the vendors that your school systems have are currently working on building out this piece within your local system, where you will have access to go in and flag and identify your homeless students. This is kind of what it looks like for one particular example of a vendor. And the homeless data will actually be pulled daily and sent to EdLink 360. So these extracts are being programmed by your vendor. And it's going to pull the pieces of data that you insert into these categories here below. So this is, again, what your local system may or may not look like, depending on which vendor you have. They're building that out for you. And then you would go in and put the home-based site code, flag, hit the drop down and flag them as homeless, which type of homeless, and so forth. So you would do all of that here. Again, just noting, no data can be manually entered into EdLink 360. So all data has to come through your local system into that extract that's pulled daily and provided to EdLink 360. This is the secondary page of just kind of an example, again, from the vendor. So once you have identified the student as homeless, then you'll have this next set of page, and it may look different for each of you depending on your vendor, but you would be able to go in and just check off which month of what service that student received. So an example here would be tutoring, which is our '07 code. You would go in, and if they received tutoring August, September, October, you would then just check off those boxes. Some vendors may have actual days, some may just have months. So depending on what you will see on your end, you'll either flag the month and make sure that, again, the services that are provided to that student are flagged by the end of the month to make sure that they are put into EdLink as it pulls daily into the system. So just kind of an updating thing. So you make sure you keep your local system, your local source of truth up to date. And just, I brought back these identifiers. All of you are very familiar with these. Nothing has changed from what you're currently used to seeing as far as these homeless identifiers are. But just bringing them back to the board, these are the codings that are used if a student is in a shelter. You use the code 1, doubled up 2, and so forth. So we just wanted to provide all of these different homeless identifiers, and it'll make more sense when I show you the sample kind of further down. But just showing you that none of these has changed. Your homeless type identifiers are still the same, as well as your homeless reason codes. Nothing has changed there. And your homeless services. So these are all of the 21 possible services that a homeless student can receive each month. So here's kind of an example of a homeless student that has received tutoring. So this student was provided tutoring twice in January, 3 times in March, once in April, and twice in May. So kind of giving you an example, I will share my screen. I'm going to show you the sample. So here's an example of what that extract will look like. Once you have flagged them in the local system, when it's pulled into the extract format and provided to EdLink, this is what it will look like. Here we provided kind of what goes in these boxes and fields as a sample, but just showing you in the month of January, which is make sure you, again, the services were recorded by the last day of the month. A record was sent because you flagged in the local system that this student was received tutoring for the month of January. So the indicator for the service January month was flagged as Y. And so as it progresses forward, in March, another file was pulled and dropped daily, and this student was flagged again 3 times according to the example. They received tutoring 3 times that month, but again, the flag indicator here would be flagged as Y again. So it kind of builds upon itself. So here you see the January submission. You'll see the March submission. So as we move forward, here we are. Now they're flagged in March. So you see this is the first record, shows our January submission. So they're flagged as yes, no in March. The next submission is our March submission. So it's building upon itself. They're still flagged as Y in January. And then again in March, they're flagged. And then moving on to April, another record was submitted. They were flagged for January, March, and April. And then moving on to May is the last example in there. So then again, it built upon itself for that 4th record, showing January, March, April, and May. If by chance you didn't get to entering that service indicator for that student before the end of the month, you still have that opportunity, as this is live data. So that means that every day a record extract is going to be pulled and dropped to EdLink 360. If by chance you forgot to flag them, let's say we are now in the extracts being pulled daily in March, and you're like, oh, they did receive tutoring in January, but I forgot to flag it. Then just go into the local system and flag them as receiving tutoring for January. So the next day when the extract is pulled, the system is updated showing that student did receive tutoring in January. But again, just kind of explaining, the system is live. So it's going to be a refresh every single day. So if you forget to do something, don't worry about it. Just go flag it and it'll be pulled the next time that extract is pulled. And again, just kind of iterating, the student will only have one type of homeless service code. So a possibility for one student would again be 21 total records. So kind of some questions we've received thus far, kind of from my SIS coordinators. This is kind of some FAQs we're building out for you guys. And so a couple of questions that have come through is, how will homeless data be submitted to EdLink 360? I think that's kind of like the #1 question that they're having. How are you going to get this information? So the homeless data will be pulled from your local system and into the homeless extract, which we've shown here, and submitted daily to EdLink 360. Make sure that you are working with your SIS data manager. So if you do not know who that is, you can always look on our contact list and see who the SIS coordinator is for your district. And then you can reach out to them and say, okay, what's the process here? How can I work with you to get this information into the system? Another question we receive is, can I enter data into EdLink 360? And the answer is no. The data cannot be directly entered into EdLink 360. It must come through that extract. That's why it's so important for you to connect with the SIS coordinator to make sure that y'all have a process in place for entering that homeless data into your local system, or the system of the local source of truth. If you don't have any, I don't have any homeless data in my local system, how will it make it into EdLink? So again, you'll need to work with your SIS data manager to ensure that that process is in place for capturing all of your homeless data. How many homeless services should exist for a student? Only one record for each of the 21 homeless services is required to be submitted for a student. A student will have a maximum of 21 records per year. This is one for each of the 21 possible homeless services. Are all dates captured for a specific homeless service was provided for a student? No. If a service is provided at least once monthly, there is only a need to report this information once to show that the service was provided during that particular month. So again, you want to flag it by the end of the month if they have received tutoring or any of the homeless services. But if by chance you forget or the system hasn't been updated, you can always go back, even if we're into the, and again, the next time it's pulled, it will be updated into the system. I'm sorry, guys. I think I may have lost y'all for a second, and I'm not really sure where I lost you.
Right at the end. Okay.
Right at the end. Are we at next steps or FAQs?
Yeah, you were at next steps.
Next steps. Okay, so the next step would be to contact your SIS coordinator. You want to make sure a process is in place.
Excuse me, Tara. I'm sorry. Can you share your screen?
There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So again, reach out to your SIS data manager. We have a contact list out there available for you to reach out to that person. And you want to go ahead and set up that process put in place. If you do have questions, we are happy to answer those. You can email us at edlink360@la.gov, and we'd be happy to assist you there as well. So I will open it up for any questions. Not sure if you have the ability to unmute yourself, or you feel free to type in the chat.
We have a few questions in the chat.
Okay, I see. When is the expected date for vendors to make the extract available?
So school systems are actually sending data now. So you will want to get with your SIS data manager to make sure. that they're set up. I do understand that some of the vendors have programmed a process in the local system for capturing that data. So again, you'll want to reach out to your SIS data manager.
Another question, great question. How do we know who our CYS data manager is? Oh, SIS, okay. Yeah, so this, so Student Information System Data Manager. Antigua, would you be able to provide them the list of SIS data managers?
Yes, I can send that out with the rest of the presentations that I will forward to them.
Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect. So yeah, so the we keep a running list and it's constantly updated of all of our SIS data managers. So just locate your school system and there's an email and phone number so you can reach out to them. Great question. All right. How is it different from older systems? What changes should we anticipate? So currently right now, you know, we have our legacy systems built here at LDOE. These systems, now you have the ability right now to go into our HCS system and enter any underage, create a record for any underage homeless student that you have in your district, as well as flag those services. All of your school age students for homeless are coming in through your SIS data. So those students are being flagged as homeless in the local system and coming through if they are of school age. And then you're able to search for their state ID number and then select what services are being provided. So that's the process and how it works now. It's kind of a manual process for you. The way it will work differently in this new EdLink process is that in your local system, you will have the ability to go in and not only flag each month of service in the local system and update that and put those underage students in there so that that data is then pulled out. You no longer have to go into a system and flag these things. You will just maintain your local system and make sure that the services provided are checked off with the dates or months, depending on how your vendor builds that out for you in the local system, and then it's automatically pulled for you and placed into EdLink. So there's no longer that manual piece of work that you currently do now. It'll all be automated. So as far as our coding changes, nothing has changed as far as your codings go. So when you go into your local system, I'm sure you'll have either drop-down boxes or radio buttons that you'll select the type, the homeless reason, the homeless type, all of the different pieces and parts will be available for you there in the local system.
I see we have a question about homeless student type. Where is the choice of underage child that's not a sibling of a public school student? So Antigua, if we need to make that distinction, you'll need to let us know because I think the description says sibling of a child that you're serving. So if that needs to be another code, we would need to know. So we can take a look at that. And then another question said, if services are rendered in the school, should the person rendering the service put it in the system? I think that's just going to be based on how you're set up in your school system. If the person rendering the service is putting data into the local system now, I would think you would want to continue that. But again, you'll need to work that out with your SIS data manager. So it's really important that y'all get together and just have a conversation because they're going to be responsible for pulling together all of the different types of data because we're going to be dropping these extracts on a daily basis. So you'll want to coordinate when your updates are made. The extracts are being dropped nightly and picked up by 7 p.m. So again, it's very important that you connect with your SIS data manager so that you can coordinate when the data is updated and when it's pulled.
I see we have another question about the maybe description and examples of the different types of homeless services. So in this webinar, and I will back up just a little bit so you can see, we do have it defined, the different types of homeless services. So these are all of the codings that currently exist in the legacy system here. So if you select code 01, then that's going to be teacher school / personnel conference is that service that was provided. I just happen to have used the 07 tutoring. So the student received tutoring as a service. So they are kind of defined within a description here. Antigua, maybe you can better help as far as providing examples of the different services.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is different school systems are using it, maybe using it differently, especially number 20, other, what should be included there. Just to make sure everybody's kind of in sync.
Yes, so we want to stay away, and I mentioned that earlier, even with the coding of homeless reasons. Although we have that option to select other, we really would prefer you to select the actual service that is being provided, because other, it should be within one of those that are already listed. So if you don't mind, if you have been selecting other, could you share in the chat box what that other might be, just so we could have an idea? Because right now we're unaware of anything additional that wouldn't fall into one of those categories. School fees paid or waived. Okay, anything else as we look through? Let's see. Okay, so right now I'm seeing that we probably should look at adding school fees. $17, food or clothing, holiday baskets could fall under that, or if you need to provide some type of voucher or something for food, that would fall under 17. Yes, you should be marking one if you're having a conversation or a meeting about a homeless student. Yes, that's considered to be a conference. So yes, that should be marked as one. So once again, like I said, please peruse that list. Try your best to avoid other unless there's just absolutely no other option. And we will come back and discuss, Sherry, the actual school fees. See if we can get that added. But other than that, everything else, try to find a code, especially with the homeless reasons, as well as I mentioned in the beginning of our day today. Try to stay away from other, we would like to know the reason that the child is homeless, if at all possible. And it should hopefully fall into one of those categories that we listed. Yes, those are the codes. So once again, we want to try to avoid 99 if possible.
I see there's a question about
Questions for
monitoring.
Tara?
I think there's a question about monitoring grades for a homeless student. Where would that be defined as far as services?
Okay, I guess monitoring grades, is that speaking with
Number
the
6,
academic concerns?
academic concerns addressed.
Yeah, that would be
Number 6,
6. would be helpful.
Academic concerns addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see we have a few more questions rolling in.
Where would you put unaccompanied youth? What about unaccompanied youth? What are you doing with unaccompanied
Youth wouldn't be a service, so the service would be what you're actually doing.
Yeah, with it.
Youth.
How do you remove a homeless student from the local system?
What is degrees of fine?
So you would need to speak with your SIS coordinator and ensure that student has been, if they have moved, maybe they've left you, moved out of state, unknown whereabouts, moved to another school within the system or within the state. Just speak with your SIS coordinator so they can ensure that that student is properly exited in the student system, so that when that data does come to our EdLink 360, it's accurately reporting that student as leaving the district, moving on to another place, depending on what that exit type is.
So I would think we would want to take a list of all of the extract questions just to make sure we've covered everything. So Antigua, maybe if you can make some of the questions in the chat available, we could take a look at them to make sure everything is covered and that we've answered everything.
Will do.
Do we have any other EdLink 360 questions? All right, I will go back down here. Again, if you have any questions, you can email them to that edlink360@la.gov email address, and we would be happy to assist you.
Hey, thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your busy schedules to address EdLink for our homeless liaisons. I'm sure that they appreciate your informative session that would aid them in getting prepared for the 2021-2022 school year. This concludes our homeless liaison training for today. We thank you for your time and your attention and all of your participation throughout the day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.